Hi, everyone. Like Avery alluded to, I am a pretty fresh face at Adventure Media. I'm a junior account manager here, and I just moved to New York this summer, actually, from Michigan. Any Michiganders are here? Don't know. But today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how brands grow. And as a foreword, I guess, this presentation was very heavily inspired by Byron Sharp's How Brands Grow. It's a fantastic read. You should definitely check it out. There's a lot of valuable insight there. And I hope to sort of condense a little bit of that here today. So to start, a little bit of an anecdote. We actually killed our first president of the United States. If you're all familiar with the concept of bloodletting, this is a treatment to cure illness, actually, by either small incisions made by a physician or sometimes even leeches to remove the bad blood, the toxins that are causing illness. This is a very common practice up until even the late 19th century. For over 2,000 years before that, it was very commonly used. As you might expect, in most cases, that process is actually quite harmful. It's fatal in a lot of cases. Many people died from having too much blood drawn or simply, not solving the problem that they were dealt, the illness. So even in those situations, at the time, there was a favorable opinion of treatments like bloodletting, both among common folk and physicians, the experts alike, because they assumed that it was the best practice. If the patient survived, the treatment worked. It was a miracle. If not, and the patient died, well, they were on their way out anyway. There was no saving them. The treatment did what it could, but, oh well. On a similar note, we believed in a geocentric universe as a society until really the 1600s, when Galileo, Copernicus, and Kepler sort of flipped the script. They used observations about our solar bodies to come to the conclusion that we're not revolving around the Earth. We're actually revolving around the suns, and there's much more out there than we really know. So to tie this back to marketing, because that's what we're supposed to be doing here, one of the key ideas of Sharp's book is this: challenging assumptions. Thousands of years of humanity's brightest minds couldn't come to a conclusion right away that, or a more complete understanding of our universe, our own bodies, our medicine. So why do we as marketers think that we've solved marketing, solved advertising in just a few decades? Right? This is a very fresh field, relatively new compared to medicine or sciences. Let's take a page out of the book of the industries and sciences that have preceded us and realize that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And one where the course of the field will undoubtedly change over time. To stay on track, we need to follow in the footsteps of those before us and challenge our own understanding and behavior to come to the best possible solution. So where do we start? Here are some of the household assumptions that we make as marketers on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure pretty much everyone here has heard at least one of these. So to start with, brands grow by keeping customers happy. Retention is cheaper than acquisition, after all. That's what we assume. It sort of makes sense. Next, marketers win through precise targeting, excellent messaging, and unique selling propositions. Again, just sounds right. And finally, buyers form emotional attachments to brands. They have their favorites and will become evangelists. They'll support your business basically by themselves. So let's sort of walk through these one by one, and we can sort of observe how there might be a different perspective at play here. So to start with, this is probably the most common thing. You hear this in Marketing 101 and probably every day since then. Retention is cheaper than acquisition. It's easier and more cost effective to try and retain the customers you've already acquired than it is to buy a new one. It makes sense. It sounds right. This line actually originated from a Harvard Business Review article in 1990, which is pretty reputable, source that we all rely on. Except it's not at all. This line came from a thought experiment. There's no empirical data backing this at all. It's based on false assumptions, and even more damning, the author of that article, Fred Reicheld, was a partner at Bain & Company, who had obviously a vested interest in retention. He worked on a retainer model. It makes sense. He wants his services to be retained. So with that in mind, brands don't grow through loyalty. We should instead focus on the light buyers. In any given field, industry, most customers will not be buying your brand 100% of the time. Often they'll be switching between alternatives depending on any number of factors. It could just be the ease of purchase. There could be a discount. There could be any number of things, right? The theory here is that we should focus our marketing efforts on expanding this red circle here, the number of people that know your brand. This is the most effective way to have people consider your purchase or your product when they're making a purchase. So again, yes, we should focus our efforts not on retaining the customers that already know our brand and are already familiar and already purchasing us. We should expand the market. So next, how do marketers really win? We sort of talk a lot about our excellent targeting, our unique selling propositions, but how do those things really impact the bottom line? You can have the best ad in the world, targeting the exact person you want, but it doesn't matter if the product isn't there, if they can't buy it, if it's not available. This is the next key takeaway, right? Marketers really win and grow their brands by increasing physical and mental availability. So this can take shape a number of ways. First, it could just mean getting your product in more stores. If on average an individual were to buy 1 can of soda in a year, you would expect that they would buy a can of Coke. Not because necessarily that they're the favorite or it tastes significantly better. It's just that Coke is in the most places. It's sold in the most stores, it's on the most shelves, it's always available. There's a higher likelihood that they're going to buy Coke than anything else. In the same vein, for example, you're going to the store, you need to buy laundry detergent. There's a very high likelihood you'll probably buy Tide, again, because it's the most common. It's always there. And humans are satisficers. We don't like to think very much. We take the path of least resistance. Tide, I know that brand name. It works. I'll buy it. It solves the need that I have. And sort of to tie this all together, and the final concept we really want to talk about here, and that Sharp talks about in his book, is the concept of double jeopardy. And this is, again, sort of the bow tying everything together. So the law of double jeopardy here states that the brands that have the most loyal customer bases, the ones with the highest repurchase rates, have them because they are the most available. They have the highest market share. They've made it easier to buy their products, and they've made the most amount of people aware. So the light buyers are able to purchase very easily. There's not a small sect of people that are single-handedly supporting their brand by being Tide evangelists. That doesn't really exist. And we see this across industries, that market share and loyalty are linked. This can be seen in your cell phone. Apple has the highest market share. They also have the highest loyalty. Shampoo, even product like Head and Shoulders, which is supposed to be a dandruff shampoo, has the highest loyalty because it has the highest market share. So the takeaway here, and what this suggests for marketers, is to grow your brand, you might see more success straying from deeply emotional appeals, targeting a very specific set of people, and instead opening up the floodgates. Find as many people, reach as many people as you can, and make them aware of your brand. Make it easier for them to purchase instead of being 100% sure that this one person will always buy from you. And as an aside, this double jeopardy rule, one application of this is that we can observe that niche brands, ones that are relatively small in market share, but very high in loyalty, that it's not really a thing. Your brand is just kind of small. I'm sorry if I burst your bubble. It doesn't really exist. So to conclude, if you take one thing away from this presentation, it would be this. Ask yourself the next time you are suggesting a strategy to your boss or to your client, why am I really suggesting this? Is it just because that's the way I've been doing it, or is this really going to drive results? I think that if we want to continue progressing as an industry and make strides wherever we can, that's the key here, is always question honestly and genuinely intrigue, with genuine intrigue. Thank you.